Hello everyone. Townstar has once again added a bunch of new items and buildings to the game. One of these new items is going to be the Chandelier Earrings, which is going to be the meta for the upcoming competition starting on June 27, 2023. That competition is going to last for 3 days. There is going to be rewards for the top 1200 in the leaderboards. The reward is going to be Gala and an NFT. They have not confirmed which NFT it's going to be as of me recording this video. And if you do not get top 1200 and manage to at least sell one batch of the meta item, which means you need at least 10 chandelier earrings to sell with the trade depot, then you will qualify for an uncommon ghost card NFT. That's if you don't make it to top 1200. If you do, then you'll get a higher rarity and you'll also win Gala. So that's the competition details and the prize structure. So as you can see right here, I'm going to be showcasing a No NFT Chandelier Earrings build. I'm also going to be explaining how to craft everything, starting from the very top and going down. And I'm going to explain some stuff that you need to watch out for when pretty much building this and coming up with your own design or any changes that you need to make. So this one is pretty decent. It's doing 28 chandelier earrings per hour, and that's after testing it for about 12 hours. I'm kind of blocking it right here, but you can see I've already gathered 386 of them. But it has been running for over 12 hours, so 28 per hour is pretty stable rate. I think a good rate for chandelier earrings would be somewhere around 35 per hour, and a great rate would be around 40 per hour. Of course, this is with no NFTs, so I am not using any of the NFTs that would provide me an advantage for this during testing. And yeah, I'm pretty much gonna start from the top, and that's gonna be with the jewelry crafting tables. Now, if you want all the information on how to build this and what all the proximity effects are, I do recommend checking out the Gala Games Discord. Otherwise, in game on the gems tab of the store, you can see all the new buildings and the requirements for everything. But it's not going to explain all the proximity effects for you, which I'm going to explain in this video as well. So there's going to be jewelry crafting stations, jewelry crafting tables all over the place right here. And I'm going to focus on the ones crafting chandelier earrings, which is the top tier item. Chandelier earrings can be crafted as fast as 100 seconds and requires 10 copper ring, 5 silver rings, and 2 silver wires. So I have 4 of them making chandelier earrings. And the rings and the earrings get stored in the jewelry store. So preferably, you want the ones making chandelier earrings right next to the jewelry store, because they got to make 15 trips in total to get all the rings that they need, and then they got to put the earrings there when they're done. Now, the 2 silver wires, they would have to go to the warehouse to pick those up, since those are not stored in the jewelry store, but they only got to make 2 trips to the warehouse, so it's okay. So that's how they make the earrings. And they need the rings, which also come from the jewelry crafting tables, as you can see right here. The copper jump ring requires 1 copper ring. The silver jump ring requires 1 silver wire. So copper wire, silver wire. The silver jump ring does take longer to craft than the copper jump ring. So these crafting tables right here, which is a total of 8 of them, are crafting the copper jump ring. And then these 6 are crafting the silver jump ring. Now, the crafting tables cast 2 shade. They do not like dirty, so they're negatively impacted by dirty. If there is dirty affecting them, it will slow down their craft times. And in this case, I do have 1 jewelry crafting table negatively impacted by 1 dirty. So you can see that the craft times have doubled, so that's going to slow it down. Now, in order to get the wire for the rings, you're going to need the wire mills. So I have a total of 14 wire mills here. These 4 are crafting silver wire, and the other 10 are crafting copper wires. Now, each of the wires requires either 2 copper ore or 2 silver ore for whichever one you're crafting. The copper wires do take longer than the silver wire, and they also need 1 energy. They are not negatively impacted by anything, so it's best recommended that you provide passive energy to them. That way you won't have to manually craft the energy. And you can do that with power plants, which if you're going to use power plants, you might as well have your industrial passive gas setup here. So as you can see right here, I have my refinery crafting gasoline in between the power plants and water pumps. A refinery to the side crafting petroleum. So I have a forklift that gathers crude oil from these 2 oil pumps and puts it in this fuel storage, as well as that's where my petroleum and my gasoline go. So that's my whole gas setup right there. And I also have the dray depot on this corner to sell everything that I need to sell, just to explain that. But yeah, the wire mills make the wires. They require copper and silver metals. Now the metals come from the forge. Oh, and before I forget, the wires do get stored in the warehouse. I did mention that earlier, but just wanted to mention that again. But yeah, the metals come from the forge. They can craft copper and silver, and they require ores and wood. So the copper one requires 5 copper ores, and they do take much longer than the silver. And silver only requires 2 silver ore. They both need 1 wood, which can be directly delivered by the lumberjacks or the loggers. But let me explain the forges first. So most of these forges are going to be making copper. So over here on this side, I have 7 forges smelting copper and 3 of them smelting silver. Now they do have to pick up the ore themselves from the ore storage, which I'll be showing the location for all the ore storages in a moment. But this isn't the only forges I have. I also have another section of forges on the north side. So over here, there are 4 forges making copper. And then in between, I actually have 8 forges making silver. And then all these other forges, which is, there's 7 of them. These are all making copper. So I already showed you the location of one of the ore storages. So there's one on the east side over here. There's one in the middle, which the forges over here are supposed to be picking up the ores from here. And then there's one on the west side right here, which is picked up by the forges nearby. So yeah, all copper ore and silver ore goes in the ore storages. And the actual copper and silver metals go in the warehouses, which are conveniently close to the wire mills, so they can craft those faster. That's why I have it set up like that. Now the forge casts 3 dirty and 2 shade. They do cast different amounts, but the 3 dirty is what you want to watch out for. And once again, the jewelry crafting tables do not like dirty, so that's why you have to be careful. Now the ores, you get those from the silver and copper panning sites, as you can see right here. These are like crops, so they do not like shade, dirty, or salty. You can't have any of that near them, which means you have to be very careful where you put your forges, where you put your normal buildings that cast shade, and you definitely don't want an ocean nearby affecting them. So yeah, these are very picky. You don't want any of that. Treat them like wheat fields or something. Yeah, they do need 1 water in order to cultivate the copper ore or silver ore. Silver ore taking much longer than copper ore, but surprisingly you need a lot of copper ore because you need a lot of copper metals. So you would probably end up having more copper sites even though they are crafting it faster. Thankfully for this upcoming competition, they do give us a plains biome with 2 rivers. So the 2 rivers give you more than enough water for everything. You can have all the trees that you need with full passive water, and you can have all these sites right here with at least one passive water that they need. Now the ore is picked up by the panner houses. Thankfully, the panner houses are cheap, easy to build, and they only cast 1 shade. So you do want to place them close to your panning sites, because I mean, you can have it so they only cast 1 shade and it's not going to impact these if you do it properly, like this build design right here. The panner houses come with the worker, which I'm not sure what his official name is, but I'm just going to call him the panner. So he's going to come to the panning sites and collect copper ores and silver ores and take them to the nearest ore storage. And you are going to need a lot of these. So in this design, I believe I have 22, but don't be afraid to have a lot of them. And of course, you're going to need wood, as I mentioned earlier, to actually smelt them into metals. So you're going to need trees and you're going to need loggers, preferably. In this case, I have 9 loggers, which is probably a little more than what I need, but that's just what I ended up at. And as for the storages, I already mentioned 3 ore storage. I do have 3 warehouses, and I only have the 2 jewelry stores. Over here, I do have a lumber mill. This is not required in the end. I just have it here because you would want to make lumber to build everything, but in the very end, you don't actually need it. You could replace it for something else, maybe another forge. Same thing with the lumber yard. In the very end, you don't need it. I just have it here to store your wood or your lumber. If you do decide to keep it, preferably jam it up with lumber. I don't think you want wood in there because it might slow down your forges. Instead of the loggers delivering the wood to them, they might the forge workers might just go to the lumber yard and it'll slow things down, so you probably don't want that. Also, this tree has 1 shade, but it's okay. And in the top corner over here, I do have a builder house, which is not required. It's just there to build the last things you may need. So you could replace that for something that won't require a road. You could put a trade pier there if you need help selling more items for some reason. But as far as auto sell goes, you do want everything on auto sell. You don't need to have gasoline as usual. The ores, I have it at a high amount of 60. That's in case for some reason the copper storages just get completely jammed up, which should not happen. That should not be happening. If it is happening, there's an issue. Same thing with the wires on auto sell, but they should not be jamming up the storages. It's possible that the rings might jam up your build, but unlikely. I've not seen that happen in this design. They all get used for the earrings. So this build is pretty well balanced, but that doesn't mean it's completely optimized. You could probably have more panning sites to get the ores or the metals that you do need to improve the rate further. You could add more panner houses as well to replace some of the buildings that you don't need. So there still is ways on improving this, but hopefully this helped you out. This is the Townstar LWG visualizer. It is currently updated by Crypto Dude, so shout out to him for keeping it updated and modified and everything. He has all the new meta information and buildings here, so that's awesome. I decided to make the design here to show you what everything is crafting. It's kind of hard to tell with the actual jewelry, but I did point all that out when I showcased the build. And you can mess with the overlays to see how the dirty works and how the shady works to give you an idea. If you need a link to this, I will leave a link in the description of the video. And it also tells you all the objects that are required or used, actually. The total cost of the build, which this costs 12.2 million in order to finish. And the labor at 19,155 per minute, which is correct. That's it. So hopefully that helps you out if you need it. But yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, feel free to like the video, leave a comment with any questions or feedback you may have. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so. I appreciate your support and thank you for watching.